to the Chuck Shoot podcast. Really excited today. We got another special guest. He is Keith Douglas. He is the guitarist for the band Tora Tora, which was a pretty big hard rock group back in the late 80s, early 90s. They toured with a lot of big bands. And some of you tuned into this episode specifically to hear the interview with him. Some of you may have no idea who he is, and I'm sure that you will learn quite a bit about him as well as the band after this episode is over. But today is an exciting day too because NFL season is back. NFL preseason starts tonight. So that's always a exciting thing for me. I'm a big football fan. So I think it's the Broncos and the Falcons. It's not two of my favorite teams, but I prefer football. I prefer even preseason football as opposed to baseball. But that's just me. Other thing that's going on, I just saw there's a new Tarantino movie out, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just saw it last night. Wow. It was a long movie. It was a kind of a departure for him, I would say. Definitely, it kind of reminds me in a way of Stranger Things in the sense that there's a big nostalgia piece to it. But I didn't grow up in the 60s, so it didn't have that nostalgia effect like, oh, I remember this and I remember that. But I think if you grew up in the 60s, you might appreciate that piece of it, the nostalgia piece. But I will give my full review of this movie and whether I think it's a good movie or a bad movie. That will probably be on the Chuck and Josh podcast. That's my other podcast that I do where we talk music, movies, news, our personal lives, a little bit of sports too. But that episode will probably be next Thursday. So stay tuned for that. I'll give you my full review of the Tarantino movie. And today I think I just want to focus on Keith Douglas, the guitarist from Tora Tora, and the band Tora Tora. So I found this band. I grew up in Seattle in the 90s, so I kind of caught the tail end of the hard rock, what they call the hair metal phase of rock, I guess. It was the late 80s, early 90s. I started to get into that kind of stuff in probably around 92 was when I first got into it. I listened to a Skid Row record, and this girl played, and I was like kind of blown away. So I started getting into it. I started listening to Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, and then started getting into the Poisons. And then I started just trying to absorb also the Metallica and the Megadeth and the heavier stuff. But I listened to I even listened to the Seattle stuff, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, all that stuff. But I remember in the mid-90s, I got this compilation. It was called Youth Gone Wild. And it was just a compilation of, each band had one song. And there's a song called Walkin Shoes on there, and it was by Tora Tora. Never heard of the band, never heard the song. It was like the fourth song in or something, and it kind of I think it was the best song on the record. It kind of blew me away. I was like, whoa, what is this? Because it starts off with this kind of bluesy riff, and it's like almost like a blue, almost like country, really. It's really bluesy, like Stevie Ray Vaughan or like a B.B. King bluesy riff, and then it just hits heavy, boom, and you kind of go, wow, what the hell was that? So I thought that song was awesome. Then I tried to find the band's other albums. Couldn't find them. I think they were out of print at the time. So kind of just didn't really think much of it, but did like that song. I think it wasn't until years later that I was able to either find the CDs or I don't know if it was through iTunes or something. Somehow I ended up getting more songs from the band, and I was like, oh, the other songs are good too. What the heck? So that's when I really became more of a fan of the band. And then, of course, I wanted to see them live, but I think at the time they were broken up for like 15 or 20 years. And now they are back together. They have a new album out, and they're actually on tour, which is also amazing because I think they've mostly just done, once they reunited, I think they've mostly done shows around Memphis. And they've done like Monsters of Rock cruise and festivals and things like that. But they're actually kind of on like a little bit of a mini tour right now. They've got some dates. So we'll hear the history of the band. We're going to go through their peak time of that late 80s, early 90s. Then they disbanded, and then we'll hear about when they got back together and then kind of what they're up to now. So Keith should be calling in any minute now. So why don't we just take a second here, and he should be here any second. Okay, my guest today is the guitarist from the hard rock band Tora Tora. They had two charting albums as well as two songs that charted on the rock charts. They toured with Dangerous Toys, LA Guns, The Cult, Great White, Tesla, Bonham, and so many more. They actually have a new album out right now titled Bastards of Beale, and also have tour dates lined up. So please welcome to the show guitarist Keith Douglas. Keith, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great, man. How you doing, Chuck?
Good, good. How's your knee?
Man, I'm getting there. I had a total knee replacement 2 weeks ago yesterday, and I'm feeling pretty good.
Oh, wow. Is that just from all the hard rock touring, running around stage, or is it doing something else?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I'm kidding. No, I just had, premature advanced arthritis. I think it's like a genetic type thing. Not real sure, but
yeah,
it was kind of unavoidable. I did some other things trying to avoid, replacing it altogether, and nothing else seemed to do it. So.
Gotcha. Well, let's just start from the beginning. When did you start playing guitar?
Oh man, probably when I was 10 or 11 years old.
Oh,
maybe.
That long, huh? Did you do other instruments before that, or?
Not really. I'll knock around on piano or drums and stuff like that, but I was always a guitar guy. Growing up with all the usual suspects, Kiss, and
Right, Kiss, Van Halen, Cheap Trick, Journey, AC/DC, ZZ Top, and Foreigner. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are your 5 favorite guitarists: Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, Angus Young, Peter Frampton, and Randy Rhoads. Did I get that right?
Yeah. I think that list changes from time to time. I'm not sure where you pulled that one up, but that was right at one time or another.
Sure. So, but here's my question. So, I mean, obviously you guys have a very bluesy sound to a lot of the guitar riffs. So I'm not seeing a lot of blues guitar. I'm not seeing like B.B. King or Stevie Ray Vaughan on that list. Where's the bluesy guitar influence coming from?
Well, I'm not real sure, man. I'm probably, I grew up, I was trying to mimic all of the metal dudes. And
right,
all those people you just listed, and I couldn't touch any of them. I mean, we didn't have with no YouTube. I mean, it was a whole different world.
Right.
I was trying to learn solos with a vinyl, picking up the needle and backing it up a million times, trying to figure out Joe Perry and all that stuff. And I just I don't know, I just kind of ended up just kind of doing my own thing. And it was probably, years later before I really started to appreciate, some blues players. And, even in the last couple of years, I've come across some guys that are just blowing my mind, man, that are making me work, just to be a fraction as good as these guys are. I mean, so, it's just always an ongoing, ever-evolving process,
because I think so you were kind of more the metal guy, and then your singer Anthony, who also plays a little guitar, he was kind of more the bluesy. He called it a crooner. He was kind of a hippy dippy kind of. He wanted to do kind of more acoustic stuff. And you and the Tora Tora bassist Patrick Francis, you guys were actually in a band called Lycanthrope, which was more of kind of like an Iron Maiden, Judas Priest type of band. So how did you get Anthony, who kind of seemed to have a different style, to come and form a band with you guys?
Actually, it was John Patterson, our drummer. I went to high school with him. I've known Patrick since elementary school. And we just kind of ended up jamming together. And, a singer is the hardest thing to come by, back then, or where we were anyways. And, I just, one of those guys said, hey, man, I heard of this Anthony dude that can really sing, and he came over and played some, I can't remember. He might have played like some Journey, Patiently. It seems like is a song he used to sing, and he, it was nothing.
That's hard to sing,
really.
Steve Perry, right? So he could he nail that pretty well?
Oh yeah, awesome. And we were just like, man, dude, you're in. I don't care what you're singing. I mean, that sounded really, really cool. So, but once we started writing our own tunes, which was a result of being absolutely horrendous at doing cover tunes. So we didn't last very long at that at all.
Yeah.
So once we started writing stuff, it kind of, he and I, to bounce those styles off of each other, we kind of blended them together.
Gotcha.
And and it works out well. And it
definitely,
still, when we started writing for the most recent record, I wasn't real sure what was going to come out. I mean, we hadn't written together in a really long time. And, it's kind of like we fell right back into it, and it was the same exact, yin and yang, blending of our styles that kind of pop out our sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to that, in '85, you guys got together. So you had a band, but you didn't have a name. So there was, I guess, I heard this. Tell me if this is right. You had a friend that came up with he had a list of like 60 or 70 band names, and and actually for a while though, you guys were called Free Beer, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah. We had that. It was more of a joke than anything else.
But did you actually do some shows where you said, tonight is free beer playing and people showed up? No.
I don't think we ever did. But,
okay.
We sure thought it would have been a great idea to put on a sign outside the club.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would got a crowd for sure. So you picked Tora Tora because you just thought it stood out, which Tora, I think it means tiger in Japanese. And it's kind of a play on the code name for the attack used by the Japanese Imperial Navy on the Pearl Harbor, right? Okay. Did you guys know that at the time, or were you more just like, oh, there's a Van Halen song called Tora Tora?
We were probably way more familiar with the Van Halen aspect of it.
Okay. Gotcha.
I was a Van Halen junkie back in those days. And,
sure.
And, as we're looking through a list, it was actually a friend of ours named Kelly Coffey. And she was a high school friend. She went to high school with Anthony, and we just knew her forever. And she showed up with this whole list of names, and we just kind of, needed a name and went through them, and that one popped out, and we said, okay, done deal.
Awesome.
So
then I found this interesting. So your dad was in the glue business, and you guys worked in this, or he worked in this warehouse. And so what you guys did is took these old empty glue barrels and took some plywood, and you built a stage in the corner of the warehouse and actually got a PA system. But I thought, first I thought when I heard this, I thought, oh, you just used it for practice. But then I did some more research. So you guys actually had concerts there where you had like a door guy and a security guy and even a VIP section.
It kind of ended up being that way. It was, my dad was in that business, and I actually worked in the same business. It was a family type deal for many years. But I kind of talked him into the warehouse under the, pretense that it would be extra storage for his business, and we could kind of use it and not bother anybody. So, once we talked him into that, and we kind of jacklegged the stage, and then the next thing we were jacklegging a light, lighting, which was like Radio Shack lights that, at the time were cutting edge.
Sure. No, it sounds fun. So
control.
Yeah, and people brought coolers of booze and lawn chairs, and people ordering pizza and stuff.
Oh man, and in those there was really nothing for people under drinking age to do.
Right.
There were no clubs to go in. There was nothing to do except get in trouble or whatever. So we just kind of started having these parties / concert kind of things and charging $2 or $3 at the door, but to us, you put 400 people in there. That was like a, jackpot.
Is that how many people you would show up to these?
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe not at the first one, but it was a pretty good sized room.
Yeah, because didn't you recruit from the bigger concert venue down the street and say, hey, we got the after hours party at our warehouse over here, right?
Yeah, well, it was actually right next door to the Mid-South Coliseum, which was where every concert was, from the late 60s through until they closed it. That's where I saw all the shows when I was growing up. Everybody came through there. So, yeah, I mean, we would, people would leave the concert and pop into our place, and we'd just kind of take advantage of the traffic,
Absolutely.
But it worked out awesome. I mean, and that's the way we actually Anthony went to a different high school than John and I, so we kind of had our two crowds, kind of brought together, and it just ended up, that's kind of how we ended up building our following. And once we were working with Ardent Studios, and they were bringing in record labels, that's what Brian Huttenhauer, who eventually signed us to A&M, he's like, man, I got off the airplane and got in my rent-a-car, and you guys were on the radio, because we had a good buddy here.
Yeah, I want to get to that
local stuff.
Yeah, so with the Ardent Studios, you guys actually, you entered a battle of the bands, and you actually beat out 60 other bands, and that's how you won the recording time at Ardent Studios, and that's when you recorded that EP to Rock to Roll, and that was the songs Phantom Rider, Love's a Bitch, and they started getting airplay. So can you tell me, what was it like the first time you heard your song on the radio? I mean, that's got to just blow your mind, right?
It was mind-blowing. But, you know, at the time there was a guy here in town named Malcolm Riker, and he kind of started the whole local music scene. You know, it was pretty healthy back then, just bands, and everybody was kind of supporting each other, and it was a pretty big deal. And he had he had a 1 or 2 hour show once a week or something with local music, and it became, our song Phantom Rider became so popular. I mean, it was like in heavy rotation.
Was this on Rock 98? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so yeah, I mean, our A&M guy hears us on the radio, and then he shows up at our warehouse, our underground bar, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it was packed. I mean, it was an insane night, and he was just like, "Man, what is going on, you know, down here?" But
very cool. So then you signed with A&M Records, and you recorded in Ardent Studios in Memphis. And I found this interesting. While you guys were recording, a lot of famous bands have been there, and I think they were recording while you were there. Allman Brothers, ZZ Top, Leonard Skinner.
Oh man!
And I heard a story about how Anthony went to go get a cup of coffee one time, and he ran into Stevie Ray Vaughan. Did you ever get starstruck seeing all these guys while you were recording your first album?
Oh my gosh, I totally did. I mean, I was just on cloud nine, man, just walking around going, "Oh my God!" But the guy who produced our first record, Joe Hardy,
right?
He did all the ZZ Top stuff. So that was the big one I'll never forget. I'm in there trying to cut guitar solos, and Billy Gibbons decides to come in and watch. You know,
does that make you nervous though, or
no? Oh, I'm just like, man, y'all, this isn't gonna work. You know? I can't do this. But he's such a nice and cool guy, and we were, you know, messing around with different effects pedals, and you know, he actually walked around town in a Tora Tora jacket for quite a while.
That is awesome. Cool. Wow, that's really cool.
It was, but it was so crazy. You know, there at that time, man, Arden, that was in the heyday of, you know, big record budgets, and man, everybody was in there. You know, we were cutting some stuff one night, and Greg Allman stuck his head in the door and said, "Hey, y'all want to come and hear me sing?" You know, he was cutting a record, and it was his birthday. He was like, you know, "Come hang out." We were just like, man, this is nuts.
Yeah.
So
that's so cool.
It was pretty amazing, and for us, I mean, we were just blown away, man. And, you know, we were like kids in a candy store, but yeah, I ran into Stevie Ray there, all the Leonard Skinner guys. I tell you who was there a lot. REM. Those guys were always hanging out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Keith Richards was hanging there doing a solo album one time.
Jeez.
I can't even.
Did you get to meet him or like talk to him at all or see him?
I did not. I didn't want to bother him, but you know, it's kind of the thing where you hope to run into somebody in the bathroom. Or,
right. So then the Surprise Attack, that was your first album. It ended up peaking at number 47 on the Billboard charts, which is pretty good. It had the singles Walkin Shoes and Guilty. So let's start with Walkin Shoes, because that's the song that really got me into the band. I think it's a great song. It definitely holds the test of time. It does not sound dated at all. It just sounds like a great song. It starts off with that bluesy riff. Now, I read that you guys wrote that song in 10 minutes. So does that include the bluesy riff at the guitar riff at the beginning, or was that something that Joe Hardy added later, or how did that come about?
I had that riff, and you know, and then I just had the loose idea, and Anthony showed up at my place one day, and I just said, "Hey, let's do something with this," and we just cranked out the rhythm, you know, the rest of the music, and we wrote lyrics, and we were just finished with it.
So you wrote the entire thing with the lyrics too in 10 minutes?
Maybe not 10 minutes. That's an exaggeration. Maybe, you know, half hour or 45 minutes. I don't know. But, you know, it really came together once we got into the studio to demo it. That's when we actually heard it, what it could be. And we were just like, hey, man, this is, you know, and that's when we realized that was a good one. But, you know, and I've heard a bazillion people say it. I mean, the easy ones. You know, the good ones come pretty easy. You know, when
Yeah.
you sit around and struggle and strain and pull your hair out, but you know, things get difficult.
Yeah, no,
So,
I mean, unless it's like a Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that. I'm guessing that was probably not written in 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the best, just especially rock songs like that, it's not real complicated. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I mean, it sounds really good. It's rocking. I mean, it's still, I just listened to it right before the interview just to kind of get me pumped up for this. Like it's still got that,
cool.
vibe for me. So then the song Guilty, you guys, you actually made two versions of the video, and one was I'm based here in Arizona, and one of the videos was filmed in Tucson at the airplane graveyard, but then you had to do a reshoot because MTV didn't like it. So how much power did MTV have back in the day? Because this was before YouTube, and they were basically the only music video channel playing hard rock in America. So did you basically just have to kiss their butt and just do whatever they said, or?
You know, I don't know that was entirely their decision.
Okay.
But it weighed, man, they had so much influence over the whole industry.
Sure.
That, you know, if there was anything they thought was negative about it, it would freak the label out so much that they were just like, okay, let's just start over, you know, never mind.
Huh.
So, but I don't think that was the only thing with that. I think there were some other technical issues with that video as well. I've heard stories of later. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just, you know, we were cruising around having the time of our lives. We were like, whatever.
Right. But so going back to that video shoot, so I read that it cost around $75,000-$80,000, and the record label, we're just going to charge you for that. So can you explain to me, because as someone who doesn't work in the music business, I don't understand how these contracts work. So they give you some sort of deal, and then they charge you for things like they give you like bills for like video shoots and touring, or like, is that like you could actually owe money at the end of it?
They don't technically give you a bill for it, but they tack it on to what you owe them, you know, out of record sales. So that's just that much longer before you recoup, you know, that they just tack it all on to, you know, your bill, and before you ever see a dollar from record sales, all that gets paid back.
But meanwhile, they're paying for like touring costs and hotels and all those kinds of things, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you guys, and you guys had a song on the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure soundtrack, "Dancing with a Gypsy," which I love that movie. In fact, I actually worked at the high school there that was filmed at. Now, did you get to go to the movie premiere or anything? Or is it kind of just like we sent you the song and then that's it?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we went with a whole group of people here in Memphis. From Ardent Studios, because that's actually right as we were first signed to A&M. I think maybe before we even had started on our album, we got that placed in that movie somehow.
Oh, okay. Now, do you still get like do you get like a royalty check from that at all still, or?
Yeah. It's on my statements. It's pretty comical.
Oh, really? Is it okay? So it's nothing major, but it's something, right? I mean, it's still got money coming in, right?
Oh yeah. It's funny though. I just, you know, within the last couple of months, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I said, man, you know, a movie you might like, check this out. And she loved it, and then she couldn't believe that, you know, we had a song on it, and she was like, oh my God.
Yeah, they're actually making a third one too, so maybe you guys can get on the soundtrack for the third one.
I heard that. I heard that.
I'm putting that out there for you in the universe. That. Yeah. So that, and then in 1990, you guys toured. Did you tour with the Cult and Bonham?
Yes.
Okay. So how was that? Do you have any road stories, or like, I know you're a married guy, you got kids, so you don't want to tell any crazy like Motley Crue dirt stories, but is there any sort of like, maybe like a Spinal Tap kind of story, like something went crazy or haywire, or?
Oh man, our whole, you know, I could tell you a bazillion. The Spinal Tap is true for everybody. It's so scary to every band how close to realistic that is. That was just a great time, man. That was the first big, you know, that was the first time we stepped out and played an arena. And, you know, we had a pretty short set, but I'll just never forget that. I mean, we started in Houston at the Summit. It was like I can't remember the capacity, but it was just mind blowing. You know, it took us, so it was so cool though. Just I watched the Cult every single night.
Yeah.
I mean, they were fantastic. And Jason Bonham was like the super nicest guy in the world.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
And we got on really well with him. So, I mean, it was just very memorable. I loved it. That's still one of my favorite albums, Sonic Temple.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
They're actually out right now touring the 30th anniversary.
Oh, that's very cool. And then you did a tour with LA Guns and Dangerous Toys.
Yeah.
How was that? I heard those guys were really nice too. They treated you really well, right?
Oh yeah, man, it was a ball. I mean, all three of us. I mean, we were just, all of our records were all doing well. We were all over MTV, and it was a good package, and everybody got along wonderfully, and we had a really, really great fun time.
Cool.
And that one lasted, quite a while, man. We were on that. But yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed that one.
Cool. Yeah, I just saw Dangerous Toys in Colorado at Herman's Hideaway. I'm trying to get them on the podcast. Maybe you can put in a word for me. I was really impressed with their guitarist, Scott. I don't know if you remember him. I think it's the same original guitarist, right?
Yeah, I saw them. We did a deal in Atlanta, Rocklahoma, back in the springtime.
Yes, I wanted to go to that, but I had to work.
Yeah, they played that, and I ran into those guys. I haven't seen them in ages.
Yeah.
But I talked to Scott wow.
Yeah, he's really good. I was really impressed. So then going back to your career here, so then you had a second album that was coming out, and then but there was a wait, and you had some problems. You guys actually wrote 75 songs, I heard, for this, and you had a hard time picking songs. Now tell me about this. You had a song on the album called Nowhere to Go But Down that was actually co-written with Stan Lynch, who, for people who don't know, he was the original drummer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. How did that come about?
That was another Brian Huttenhauer, our A&M guy. He had set us up, Anthony and I, to go write with just to change it up. We wrote so many songs for that album that was just dumb. I mean, we were happy with a bunch of them, but it was back to the record label stuff. I mean, there's a lot of politics.
Sure.
And, so, and we were just trying to get it gone and done, and be happy with it. And, and then we would get, in a writing rut or whatever. And he'd say, let me hook you up with so-and-so, just go out and see him and hang out. Maybe I'll write something. And, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But we did hook up with some pretty interesting people. But Stan Lynch was one that we clicked like right off the bat. We actually wrote a few songs with him. Dead Man's Hand is on that same record. He was the writer on that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, but such a cool guy.
Yeah.
And we would just go hang at his house out in the valley in LA and just a super nice guy.
Very cool. So you did a lot of writing, and then the second year was trying to get into the studio. You finally did. You finished the record, but then the record label delays you for 9 months because at the time, Bryan Adams was coming out. He had a new record coming out, and they said, we're really going to concentrate on Bryan Adams. So you guys had the choice of either releasing it without as much support from them or to wait 9 months, and then they would be fully behind you. Now, this was also at the time that obviously the music scene was changing a little bit. In hindsight, do you wish that you would have maybe not had waited so long to put out that record?
Well, I mean, yeah, of course. But, it wasn't completely up to us in our decision either.
Yeah.
We were working with John Hampton as a producer on that album, and he ended up, due to a label suggestion, he ended up going to work to do the Gin Blossoms first album.
Yeah.
And they replaced him with Arthur Payson to work on ours and finish it out. Sir
Arthur Payson, right? If I remember correctly.
That is correct. And so, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on then. But at the end of the day, when we heard the record, the vinyl mix, man, we were blown away. I mean, it's still, I mean, I think it's my favorite sounding thing we ever did from top to bottom. It'll blow your speakers off.
I know. I love the first single, especially Amnesia, which was actually co-written by Taylor Rhodes, who also co-wrote Aerosmith's "Crying," as well as songs by Kix, Celine Dion, Journey, Cheap Trick. I mean, he's done all sorts of stuff, and that song got airplay on radio and on MTV. But again, it was around this time the grunge thing started taking off, and you guys were kind of more of a hard rock, I think bluesy hard rock band. This is interesting. So Alice in Chains was kind of starting to become a big band. Now you guys actually had Alice in Chains open for you, and you hung out in the Northwest, and when they were in Memphis. Tell me about that, what that was like, hanging out with Alice in Chains. You guys kind of just thought of them more as just a rock band, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were several gigs up in the Northwest for us. They opened, and they're such nice, super cool guys. And they were giving me demo tapes and all this stuff, and we were hanging out, before and after the gigs. I remember hanging at the hotel and just talking, and I'll never forget hearing "Man in the Box" on the radio for the first time, and I was like, "Holy crap, man! They got a record deal."
Oh, so they opened for you like before they had a deal?
Oh yeah, yeah, a few times.
Was that when you guys were just on a club tour, or was that which tour? Do you remember what?
We played Seattle. Gosh, there was a club downtown. If I heard the name of it, I would know it.
I'm from Seattle. Was it the Paramount or the Moore or Showbox?
Man, I don't remember. I know it was right downtown.
Sure.
Just a big rectangle brick room.
Okay.
But this was 30 years ago.
Right.
Also. But yeah, they opened for us there and in some other clubs. Seems like we did a theater in Spokane, and they opened for us. But just super cool. And they had, I remember going home after that tour, and I was really getting into some of the demo stuff that they'd given me. And, then they came through Memphis a time or two, and we were hanging out. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, but
So when they start taking off, do you guys call them and say, "Hey, we let you open for us. Can we open for you now?"
No,
okay.
No, we never did that.
But do you still keep in touch with them at all, or Jerry Cantrell?
Not really.
No, okay.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen them in a number of years. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, some of the same people have been knocking around. I mean, the first time we played Atlanta, the Black Crowes opened for us.
I was going to say that was my next question about the Black Crowes. Tell me about that. Yeah, that sounds, because I'm a big fan of theirs too.
It was right around the height of the Surprise Attack stuff. We played a club down there, and I mean, it was packed. I do remember that.
Yeah.
And they were the local band,
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I think it's even before they were called the Black Crowes. They were called Mr. Crow's Garden.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And they were playing a lot of cover tunes mixed in with their own stuff, a lot of Stones and that kind of stuff. But they were, to just have known them that night, and they were pretty wild and having a good time. But I remember those two, the brothers, telling me, "Yeah, we're about to get signed," and which is the same thing every band everywhere says, and we were just like, "Oh, cool, good for you."
That's cool. Now, did you tour with Warrant and Lynch Mob around this time too, or did I get that wrong?
That.
Or did a couple shows with them maybe?
No, we did a tour.
Okay.
With those guys. And I can't remember. It was around that same time, I think.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that was pretty cool too. I do remember the first show of that gig. I walked in. We did a college somewhere, and I walked in the bathroom between the dressing rooms, and George Lynch was in there with his guitar, and I was just going, "Holy crap! I can't believe freaking George Lynch is in there, y'all."
Yeah.
He's in there just practicing. I don't know. It was wild.
He's a good guitar player.
Another one of those moments, man. For just being a fan.
Right.
Pretty mind blowing.
So then you guys started work on the Revolution Day record, and that I think was a finish in 1984. But this kind of like it irks me because A&M refused to release it. I mean, it came out years later, but I heard that actually wasn't the actual recording masters. It was kind of bits and pieces that you guys had laying around that you had to put together.
Right.
So I guess I just don't understand this. Why doesn't the record label, I know this, you know, grunge is taken off and, you know, you guys are not the hot band anymore, but for the hardcore fans, I mean, I'm sure it would have sold at least a few. Does it cost too much to just even print the copies of it I mean, without promotion?
You know,
I didn't understand that.
I think, you know, they only paid for us to make that because they were obligated contractually.
Yeah.
But you know, at that time, man, it was, man. Our AR was gone. You know, the whole company turned over. Music, everything changed overnight. You know, every, and unfortunately, we got clumped in with all the hair metal band.
I never understood that because you guys never put on the makeup, or I mean, you were like a jeans and t-shirt kind of band. You had long hair, but I mean, so did Metallica, and they persevered through the 90s. So yeah, I didn't really understand that. But so that was kind of the. Go ahead. Sorry.
We just kind of got pigeonholed into that, and you know, and when they were done, they were just done. So they let us record it, and I know that was just kind of a rough time, man, because you know, everything was so uncertain, and we were worn out. I mean, man, we had been on the road so long that we were just, you know, frazzled, and so that was a tough time and tough recording, and it wasn't, you know, too long after that, you know, I kind of stepped away for a while. I had a son that was on the way. He was born in '94,
right? And
at the time, I was just thinking, you guys, man, I got to go, you know, when that responsibility first hits you, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
so yeah, you got married, you had a son. So I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming that did you have to get like a regular job then, or like a 9 to 5, or did you just teach guitar lessons, or what did you do during this hiatus?
I mean, eventually I fell into this and that, and you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I just think that's gotta be hard going from touring a rock band and playing arenas, and now all of a sudden, like, okay, now I got to get like a real job. Like, doesn't that?
Yeah. Well, that's
but at least you got to live that for so many years. Like, you always have those memories, and now you guys are touring again, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Did you
know, it's so, I don't know. I'm just so grateful to have, you know, been able to do what we did. I mean, even at the time we were touring and just having the time of our lives. I mean, we were just looking at each other going, man, can you believe this? It was a blast. You know,
absolutely.
We were just having a good time. I mean, it was party time pretty heavily, but,
oh, really?
So,
okay. So it was like Motley Crue, The Dirt. Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Oh, no. Hey, listen, man, I don't think anybody can touch those guys. So no, we weren't, we weren't even close, man. We were milk and cookies compared to those guys. So
that is great. That was a great comparison. Okay. So now during this hiatus that you got the band broke up, did you play in some cover bands or tribute bands for fun, or local fun bands?
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Wow. Did you practice the guitar at all, or?
You know, yeah. But you know, honestly, there was probably a span of about probably 10 years that I rarely touched a guitar.
Wow.
Just from, you know, I don't know, just got busy and kind of got distracted from it, you know?
Yeah. Did you miss it? Was there a piece of you that going, God, I want to be, or were you able to be creative in your day job or anything, or?
You know, yeah, I missed it, but you know, it was just kind of like, you know, gosh, glad I got to do that, and it's, you know, time to move on and do other stuff. And
really,
so when we finally got back together, you know, I had seen Patrick somewhere, and that's right around the time where I had read an article about Rocklahoma, and I saw their lineup, and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe these bands are even still around.
Like,
you know?
which bands?
And it was everybody. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I had run into Patrick, and I said, hey man, you know, if we could ever get on that deal, I'll hook back up with you guys and we can play it. And it was about 3 months later, he said, hey man, I think we can get on that bill. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So
that's awesome.
That was our first gig back, was in 2008.
Right.
And, which was, you know, it was pretty wild, man. We had to do a lot of rehearsing and a lot of relearning. I mean, I had to, gosh, it took some work.
Yeah. Well, you were quoted as saying, some of the early stuff, you were a little too ambitious for your own good. And so you're more into the melodic, bluesy style rather than the fast and flashy these days. So you have a hard time playing a couple of those your own solos from the Surprise Attack record. So talk to me about how you get around that with the live shows now. You don't use tape or anything, do you?
No.
Okay, good.
No, gosh, have you ever seen us live? There's
no, I want to see you. You're not coming to Arizona though. I'm gonna have to make a road trip.
Man, we are coming to Vegas and Salt Lake City.
Yes, I'm thinking that maybe the Salt Lake City. So my last episode, I interviewed Mark Gus Scott. He's the drummer from Trickster, and he's doing a solo album, and it's that weekend. He's doing a release party, and so I'm invited. So it's like, gotcha. So I'm hoping I don't know what day, if it's Friday or Saturday. I know you guys are playing Saturday in Vegas, so I'm hoping his party is either Friday or Sunday, and then I can maybe or I'm gonna have to drive to Salt Lake City. It's not too far, but
man.
Yeah, there's some good venues down here, so maybe you guys could look at just sneaking in and driving through Arizona on your way.
Are you in Phoenix?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Scottsdale, which there's a really cool place called BLK Live. It's a beautiful venue. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's kind of a newer, and they have a lot of the rock bands come play there. So I saw a video that you said something about, I'm doing a quick solo for one of Kiefer's projects. Did you played a solo on Tom Kiefer's new album, or what? Tell me about.
No, that's my son. My son's name is Kiefer.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains that. So he does bands as well, then?
Oh, he does producing and engineering. He lives in Chicago, and he does his own thing, and he keeps very busy, and he's. All the technology these days is way over my head. So, he just happened to be visiting Memphis, and he said, man, I got this thing I'm recording for these people, and the guy can't get a solo. Will you just, knock one out real quick?
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. So, and then you guys did the Monsters of Rock cruise this March with, that was with Tom Kiefer and Tesla and Extreme and Queensryche, Skid Row, Faster Put, all these bands. So, that's gotta be fun. So they pay you. Do you play every night or one night, and then you just get to be on the cruise and hang out the rest of the time, or?
Well, we play twice.
Okay.
So there's two performances, and then you're set up to do a meet and greet type event.
Yeah.
And maybe one of I can't remember, a photo thing. I can't remember, but the rest of the time it's just hang out and watch bands. So
that's awesome.
It's a ball, man. We love going, and they do it so well, and it's so well organized. Larry Moran runs that, and he does a wonderful job. It's a great time. That's the second one that we had been on, and man, I love it. It's a blast because the wives all go, and it's just like a good hangout and vacation for all of us to get together.
That's very
and
cool.
Get
I've never even been on a cruise, so I'll have to check that out one of these days. So, and then you did the M3 show with Whitesnake and Vince Neil and Steven Adler.
Yeah.
So I heard, did Vince Neil, he flew down on his helicopter or something like that for the concert, or private jet or something?
You got me. I have no idea.
Did you get to hang out with those guys at all, or?
Not really.
No.
I mean, I think the day we were playing, I can't even remember. I don't know. It's terrible. I don't really. They kind of start to run together now with who played which thing. But
some of the bands, do they kind of have like the bigger bands? Do they kind of not mingle as much with the other bands? They kind of we're too big. Kind of have that attitude sometimes, or is everybody pretty cool? Or
everybody's different. But
gotcha.
Everybody I've met been very, very nice, man, and very cool. And, a lot of people are more, I don't know, grown up.
Yeah. Right.
Than we were all 25 years ago. And, everybody's, it's good though, man. It's a good time. And we have a blast, man. It's so awesome to run into, you know, some of the same fans that were out there, you know, a bazillion years ago, you know?
Yeah. They probably bring their kids now to the concerts, right?
Yeah. I mean, so it's a blast, but that was a great event. That was the first time we did M3, and it was really top notch, man.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they know what they're doing, and it's a beautiful venue. The Merriweather Post Pavilion.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah.
Now, are there any newer bands or guitarists that you're currently listening to?
Man, I run across these guys, just guitar players on the internet, these different guys. There's a guy that plays for Edgar Winter named Doug Rappaport, who's one of the best guitarists, man. He's just blowing my mind.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Just a lot of blues guys, man. Gosh, I can't name off the top of my head, but I'm always looking for new, just regular rock. It's so refreshing to hear. It's so good to hear bands now coming out like Rival Sons.
Yes, they are.
One
good.
that I'm hearing now, I actually heard on the radio, was Dirty Honey band.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
What about Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown? Or have you listen to them? They're kind of bluesy.
Man, that guy's an incredible guitar player.
Yeah,
you know, he's one to, you know, for me to set my sights on, and never, I doubt I would ever achieve that. But man, his phrasing and his playing is so tasteful, you know.
Yeah.
He posts all these snippets on Instagram and wherever else, and man, gosh, dude knows how to phrase and put his solo together.
I know,
mind-blowing.
But see, even you, for the average person, see, I took guitar lessons when I was in high school. I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a musician. I took guitar lessons for like 2 years. And I mean, people don't understand how hard it is to be even, you know, you talk about these people that you look up to, but I mean, I look up to a guy like you even, because you are at such a higher level than, I mean, I took lessons for 2 years and I couldn't even get close to what you guys are doing, or Scott from Dangerous Toys or any of those guys. I don't think people understand the level of talent that it takes to you know, to just even have a recording deal. I feel like it's very, very competitive. I mean, like I said, you guys beat out 60 bands to win that Battle of the Bands. I mean, so you're better than 60 other bands. I mean, that's pretty impressive if you think about it.
Yeah, well, you know, we were probably, I don't know, we were doing some heavy campaigning at that event too. You know?
That's part of it, though. That's a big piece of it, is the marketing and all that stuff, for sure. That's huge. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, some people, man, I have to tell you, I mean, guitar player wise, some guys, man, I mean, I can just hear some guys just get it, man. Some guys are just born with it. Yeah. I don't think I'm one of those guys, unfortunately.
Really? So did you practice a lot, or how did you, I mean, you sound pretty good to me, so.
You know, I'm okay. I got a long way to go. I probably, you know, I don't practice enough. And I just like I said, I went through a big span of years where I hardly even touched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but when people see these great guitar players, and, you know, that's what they don't see, are the hours and hours and hours and hours that those guys put in, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of them, the guys that I watch, I mean, it does seem like they just make it look easy. Because I would practice and practice and I couldn't get it.
But you have to admit, there's some guys that it's just coming through them. The guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yes. And, you know, to where they're almost just not even there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Music is just kind of rolling through them. And that's, I can spot those players a mile away.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. So there's some good ones out there, man. I just, you know, I'm trying to get disciplined enough to try to get even kind of close. I would be super happy with.
Well, I mean, I think you're doing pretty well. Now you're living in Memphis right now. So we just went to Nashville, and I was amazed at how much music and live music is in Nashville. They have these bars that are 4 stories, and every story is a different band. Is Memphis? It's got to be similar, right? Or
you know, probably not quite to the extreme of Nashville now. Okay. You know, I mean, Nashville, I think, has just now gotten like that in the last 10 or 15 years. Oh. I mean, they've always had venues, of course, and a club scene, but that city has grown leaps and bounds over the last 10 years. I mean, it's insane. But
yeah, I don't know if we went for the NFL draft, so I don't know if it was extra crazy because of that. But I mean, it was just every bar with, like I said, it was 4 stories, and every story had a different band. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I've been to Vegas, New York. I mean, I've never seen anything so much live music. It was really cool.
Oh well, God, there's so many musicians there. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Anthony lives there, right? So you guys are just how far is Memphis from Nashville? A couple hours, or?
It's about a 3-hour drive.
Okay, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
So, but the cool thing and the thing that I love about Memphis is that, you know, people just grow up here hanging downtown, hanging on Beale Street, and just picking up the blues kind of stuff. It's mind blowing to me that I can walk into any hole in the wall in the city and you can see some of the best musicians and entertainers in the world that nobody's ever heard of.
I bet. I mean, that's how I felt in Nashville. I mean, I was seeing these cover bands and they were really good. I mean, there was people playing at the airport that I was like, this person has 100 times more musical talent than I do. And they're just playing at the airport.
Well, you know, I guess Nashville today is what, you know, all the actors and actresses that used to flock to LA, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many players, great players in Nashville, and all these session guys. I mean, everybody's a perfectionist.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the rock bands are moving there too, right?
Yeah.
Brett Michaels and John Corabi, and I mean, your singer Anthony. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that are kind of moving there.
Yeah.
Not just, it used to be kind of country. Now it's just like there's a lot of hard rock guys there too.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Everybody headed that way. I mean, the cost of living stuff got to be, you know, amazing compared to, you know,
LA and New York. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so you guys are on tour. You're going to Maine, Salt Lake City, Vegas, a bunch of cities in Texas. You were going to play at the famous Whisky a Go-Go, which I just finally got to go to see a show at a few months ago. But again, no Arizona. Who did I see?
Yeah,
I saw Enough's Enough.
Oh, how was it?
I liked it. Yeah, I still like the band. It's a different. Chip is the bass player. He's taken over and singing. Their singer has a new solo album, which is also pretty good. They're kind of like a Beatles influenced band, but I really liked them, and it was a good show. I had a lot of fun. So I'm excited to. Cool. I might drive up for that Whisky a Go-Go show. I got to either hit you at Salt Lake City or maybe the Vegas or the Whisky, one of them. Unless you guys book the Arizona date. If you do, you got to let me know. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well.
Well, I can't wait to do the Whisky. I don't know, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, LA was kind of a weird scene for us because that was the height of the hair metal.
Sure.
And that.
Now, I noticed you use the term hair metal. So is that not, because I'm always curious about that. I personally, I don't mind the term hair metal because I just love so many of those bands that it doesn't offend me. So is it it's not an offensive term to you then?
No, not at all. I mean, that's just what I'm used to hearing that genre called, you know?
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's offensive at all. But, you know, we got lumped in with that for the country, but the people who did separate us out, it seemed like LA.
Yeah.
We were just kind of like outcasts there.
Sure.
You know? And we played a couple of gigs. I remember playing the Roxy and it was okay, but for whatever reason, we came through and did the Whisky, and man, that was one of the greatest gigs that I remember. And it was a packed house and it was killer. And it's such a historical, cool place. I mean,
Van Halen's played there. I mean, like everybody's played there, right? So
yeah, you name it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah, so, that'll be a fun show. I mean, I just
recently saw a picture of, you know, Eric Clapton playing there with whoever, Cream.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah,
wild,
I think because it goes back pretty far, the Whisky a Go-Go. So now you guys never lived in LA, did you? Or No. So you just played there, and you still recorded in Memphis and all that. So
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time in LA. Anthony and I did, from, you know, taking trips to write with people and do, you know, stuff with the label. And so we ended up spending quite a bit of time out there.
So did you hang out at the Rainbow? And I mean, were you involved in the scene a lot?
Not really. I mean, we went to the Rainbow a time or two, but, you know, it was more of a, I don't know, you know, more of a show. You know, we're just not, just like you said, we're the jeans and t-shirt kind of guys. And
absolutely, yeah.
Kind of weird. You know, that's where we didn't dress up enough really to hang out there.
But were there friends that you made during this era with some of the bands? Are you good friends with any of these bands? Or are these a lot of people that you just didn't talk to for 25 years or 20 years or whatever?
Who? Out there?
Yeah, just in terms of, like, you kind of took this hiatus from the music industry. Did you keep in touch with any of the bands or musicians, or was it kind of just you took a break from all the music?
I kind of took a break from all of it.
That's what it sounds like. It's very common.
Well, I stepped away, and then, you know, from the mid '90s to the end of the '90s was probably my least favorite era of music ever. So, I mean, I kind of checked out for a little while because I couldn't, you know, I didn't like much of what was coming out new wise.
Gotcha. Like the grunge era, the Soundgarden and the Nirvanas and Pearl Jam and all that.
I love Soundgarden. I mean, they were label mates too. He was, you know, Brian Huttenhauer signed us, and he signed Extreme, and he signed Soundgarden, right, all at the same time. So we all knew of each other and knew each other because of him. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I actually spent a day in Memphis hanging. You know, he needed somebody to hang with Chris Cornell because he was here doing some voiceovers for a live record, and he didn't know anybody here. So, you know, it was my job to go pick him up and hang for the day, which is a cool story now.
Yeah. You know, so what's he like? Because I mean, he's a great singer, great musician, great songwriter. What's he like as a person? I never hung out with him.
Well, I mean, this was way back then, and you know, you know, he was just kind of a quiet, reserved guy. You know,
interesting.
I got the feeling we were a lot more wild than him.
Even the Milk and Cookies band was more wild than Soundgarden, huh?
Well, I mean, we weren't Milk and Cookies compared to
Motley Crue. Okay.
Yeah, compared to those guys.
Well, one thing that's kind of impressive that you actually have all 4 core members still in the band. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty rare these days. I feel like so many bands change members so many times. Is there a secret to that, or is it just, I mean, you guys all seem so down to earth and there doesn't seem to be a lot of drama involved. And
no, I just think, you know, we've known each other for so long, and we've just kind of all come full circle, really. I mean, everybody's kind of gone out there, and, you know, there was even a number of years that I had rarely seen or talked to Anthony or Patrick, or, you know, just if we happened to see each other, but we weren't like friends, like call each other all the time. And you know, everybody just had different things. Anthony moved away for a little bit, and I don't know, man, we just kind of all grew up, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
that's very cool. And, I mean, and then in 2016, Patrick is diagnosed with cancer, and you guys don't say, okay, well, we're just going to replace you, get a new band bassist. You actually get an event going and a fundraiser, and you rally to support him. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I feel like loyalty is a very undervalued, thing right now in society. So I think that's you got to give you props for that. I think that was very cool. So.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, that wasn't entirely our doing. There was a good friend of ours, Matt Montgomery, who had that original idea. And that turned out to be such a great event. And, I mean, the Memphis music community, I mean, even from back then to now, is really tight, and people support each other and show up. And that was a great night, man. And it was one of those, man, where you can just feel a vibe in the air, and it was so much positivity, and it was just really good time.
Absolutely.
And that's also something that, you know, I mean, none of us are spring chickens anymore or getting any younger. And, we just kind of felt like, man, if we love playing music together, I mean, why don't we do it? I mean, because we all four do. I mean, you can swap one of us out, and it just doesn't really feel right for any of us.
That's great, though.
And it's always been that way. And, and that's why we have such a good time now and we feel so grateful, to be able to get out and, even if we're just doing a weekend run to go and see people, where we haven't played in 25 years. And it's a blast, man.
Absolutely.
We're just enjoying it. And, why not? And if you can make a couple of bucks, on a weekend, why not? And go have a great time.
Yeah.
While we can,
So I want to.
Nobody's gonna.
I want to talk about this too. I always end with a positive thing, a charity of some sort, a cause that you're passionate about. Tell me about the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I noticed that you're supporting them. That's something that is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, St. Jude, I don't know how much you know about it, but it's just such an amazing place. And that, to be here in Memphis, I've had just so many people I know that have been touched and helped by St. Jude, and people that have been through, it's amazing what they do for families, no matter where they're from or their background, or, man, they take care of their kids and they don't charge them a dime. And it's, it's just an amazing thing, and they deserve, if there's any worthy charity I know of in the world, it's that one.
Awesome. Very cool.
So, yeah, I mean, and I'll support whatever they're doing, man. I've got 2 healthy kids, and, I'm super grateful for that. And, I don't know. It's a tough thing, man. Do you have kids?
No, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I would like to someday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, yeah. And once you do, and that makes it even just more, makes you appreciate him even more.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. I mean, you had a great life so far. You're a father, you're a husband, you've toured with all these great bands. You're still touring. You got the new record out, Bastards of Beale. Everyone should check it out. Is there anything else that you'd like to promote at this time? Or we got the tour dates. It's on the website.
Yeah, you can check us out on all the regular socials. Check out our website is toratoramusic.com. We'll be heading out a couple of weeks from now to do the New England Rock Festival. That's the one in Chicopee, Massachusetts on August 16th. Then we'll be at Skip's Lounge the following night, and then on that Sunday night we're at the Vault Music Hall in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and we're just looking forward to it, man. We can't wait to get out there and hook up with everybody and rock out, man.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I'll have to try to check you guys out. Unless you had an Arizona date, I'll have to make a road trip. And I've never seen you live. I hadn't seen Dangerous Toys, and so we drove to Colorado to see them, and it was great. So I'll have to do that for Tora Tora too, for sure.
Yeah, cool, man. We'd love to have you. Just let me know.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, and we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely, Chuck. I appreciate it, man.
Okay. Thanks again, Keith.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. That was Keith Douglas, guitarist from the band Tora Tora. Hope you enjoyed that interview. I also have a couple other interviews that I've done so far, and hopefully many more to come. We also do the Chuck and Josh podcast. We have about 50 episodes of that. So check that out. We're on everything: iTunes, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, all these things. I don't even know what they are, but we're on there. So you just Google it. You should be able to find us. I am Chuck Shute, and that's it for me. And I'll see you until next time. Thanks.